Greetings, humans. Welcome back to the second half of the end table upcycling project. It's dragon time. I want these dragons to be red. However, red paint is very translucent and won't show up properly over the brown color that I've used for the base. So I'm starting by filling in the basic shapes of the dragons with white, since I know that red will go over that color much better. I've drawn enough dragons at this point that I'm not bothering to sketch them in ahead of time. I'm just going to go ahead and freehand the shapes that I want onto each surface of this table. Now that I have all of the basic white shapes filled in, I'm going to go ahead and do a similar just base coat of plain red covering all of the white. I'm not being too careful about getting right up into the edges and covering every single last scrap of white because I do know that I'm going to be edging all of these with black lines, and so I don't need to worry about any of that showing through later. Now for the fun part. Now that I have all of my basic red shapes, now it's time to start refining them. And this is going to come in the form of black line work that I'm going to be laying over the color here, outlining the dragons themselves and then also all of their scales and eyes and stuff. You'll notice that I actually changed the design on this first dragon here from a traditional bat-winged dragon to a feathery, more Quetzalcoatl-like dragon instead. And the reason for that is that I changed my design here from just generic, there should be dragons on this table, to a design of the Ancient Four, which are four magical, snaky, lizardy things that are very important to the Taxian culture in the books that Annalise and I have been writing, beginning with Jubilant, the one that we just published last month. So this is now no longer just a generic dragon, it is in fact a Quetzalcoatl, one of the Ancient Four teachers. As for the design I've picked here, I wanted to go with something fairly simple. I was actually heavily inspired by the Chinese and Japanese lacquer work, where the wooden bowls are lacquered in red, black, and sometimes gold as well, giving a very simple but striking pattern. So I wanted to try to do something like that here. I also can't help thinking of stained glass, the way that each piece is edged with the leading holding the pieces together. I decided that these were boring, just red and black, and since I have the gold edging on the table as well, it seemed fitting to add some gold embellishment to the designs of the dragons as well. So I'm going ahead and just adding pretty much at random some gold highlights to help this design pop. I'm definitely making sure they all have gold eyes, and then aside from that, I'm just picking some random scales. Now that all of the painting is done, I'm going to go ahead and spray the entire cabinet with a coat of glossy lacquer. It's finally time to attach the door to the front of this cabinet. I went ahead and got it screwed into place here, but because the door is so thin, the tips of the screws actually stick all the way through to the other side. And I am going to just cover those up. I'm also happy with how the little latch came out. This was just a random bit of wood that I carved. I went ahead and stained and lacquered it, and here it is. It's just a little simple flip latch. Finally, I added a bunch of these upholstery tacks as little decorative studs around the edge of the table. In the end, the design is not nearly as steampunk as I originally envisioned, but I still wanted to add these little brass tacks, and I really love the textural element that this has added to the table. Here it is, all finished in its place in the living room. I am really happy with how this turned out, and I hope you like the look of it as well. I hope you enjoyed that process. For my part, I'm really happy with how this table came out. If you had fun watching this video, stick around, like, subscribe. Until next time, fare thee well.